Coming up, it's a banner year on several levels for AOPA.
The airport in the sky reopens thanks to the Marines, and we take a flight on Air Horse One.
And making that first flight even more memorable. AOPA Live this week starts in just a moment.
This is AOPA Live This Week with Tom Haynes and Melissa Rudinger.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Frederick Airport, where we're getting ready for the AOPA fly-in and AOPA's 80th anniversary. I'm Warren Morningstar, standing in for Melissa Rudinger.
And as we record this, our volunteers and staff are working furiously to get everything ready for 2 big days of fun and education on Friday and Saturday. Everything begins Friday morning. Now, we know a lot of you don't watch us until Saturday, but that's okay. We'll be here all day Saturday too, so not too late to hop in the airplane or the car and punch KFDK into the GPS. And one thing not to miss if you're here this weekend is AOPA's 80th anniversary banner towed by a classic Stearman biplane flying over the Frederick Airport. The banner is featured in a remarkable photo celebrating AOPA's 80th anniversary in the May issue of AOPA Pilot magazine. AOPA Editor-at-Large Dave Hirschman flew the photo ship for the unusual air-to-air shoot and gives us a behind-the-scenes look.
It's a banner day at Essex Sky Park on the Chesapeake Bay as AOPA photographer Chris Rose and I take off in an Aircam. AOPA is having a milestone birthday this year, and we're there to prepare for the celebration to come. And what could be more appropriate for AOPA's 80th birthday than a vintage Stearman biplane pulling a banner? Veteran tow pilot Chip Gannow makes the banner pickup look easy. Chip uses a grappling hook to snag the banner, and he climbs steeply, pulling the billboard into the sky. Once the banner is airborne, we join up next to it. Flying beside a banner is a little unnerving. It tilts and shakes, and the noise it makes sounds like aluminum siding in a hurricane. I position the Aircam so that Chris is close enough to use his wide-angle lens, but the Aircam stays well clear if Chip needs to cut the banner loose. We cruise over the bay at just 60 knots next to the draggy banner, and Chip turns smoke on and off at Chris's direction. It doesn't take long for Chris to get what he needs, so Chip aims for the runway at Essex and drops the banner in the grass. Happy birthday, AOPA. We wouldn't have the freedom to fly this way without you. Dave Hirschman, AOPA Live.
Look for the banner at the Flightline Cookout on Friday and again on Saturday.
And lots of other special things planned for you, including a stole competition right in front of our Friday evening Flightline Cookout. Now, we have some top competitors, including some of our own. I think even Mark Baker might be trying to do a little stole landing here. And we'll see how they stack up in the contest to plan it and stop it and then take off again in the shortest possible distance. And you can see it live Friday on our Facebook page starting at 7 p.m. Eastern. We'll have another contest Saturday at noon, and we'll stream that live on Facebook too.
So Jimmy Gist, you are the one who's organizing this Stole Invitational for us. So tell us what's going to be happening out here.
Keeping it in theme with some of the contests that have been run in the past, and more and more are coming up, we're going to sit there and we've got a varied number of aircraft of different types just to show people that you can do short field work in your particular airplane if you know what you're doing. We've got some nose gear airplanes coming up to do this, and they're perfectly safe to take into the backcountry, provided you do your research and know your aircraft limitations. So that's the reason for the cross-section of the airplanes. And so we're going to be coming over a simulated terrain feature to a tree line or a cliff line or something, and touch down and just get it stopped, and then see what you can do to come out and the minimum amount of room.
Yeah, what I love about these STOL competitions is if you go out and practice this kind of stuff, these are the kind of skills you can use on any runway. It does not have to be backcountry. You can use them every day when you're out flying.
You should use them every day.
Right.
You should use them every day.
Right.
The slow flying part of it, the landing on a particular spot every time, no matter where you're going, pick a point, doesn't make any difference where it is on the field, land on it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got a bunch of pilots, and you know, pilots, you may have noticed, tend to be a little bit competitive.
They do.
And some of the pilots that are flying in this invitation are right here from AOPA, including our own Mark Baker. Now, Mark, what's the word around camp about? I mean, who's the one that's going to take it? I mean, have you put money on this thing?
I am. I know I'm going to win the amphib category because I've got a pretty good line. It looks like I'm going to win the amphib category.
Yeah.
Pretty long distance actually.
Right.
So I'm pretty proud of myself on the amphib category. As far as the rest of it goes, I agree with Jimmy though. Practicing landing in short field is a smart thing to do all the time because if you ever need it for an emergency, it's a way you know you're going to land.
Right. So the thing to remember, though, it is a short takeoff and landing. So it's not just a short landing thing because you have to be able to take off when it's over.
Well, I may have the long takeoff part in the amphib, by the way, coming off the grass. But I think I'll do okay. I'm okay with it.
All right.
I've done a lot of backcountry flying with the Super Cub on wheels and on amphibs and 185. So we'll see what happens.
All right. Okay, we heard it here. Mark's going to take the amphib category. So, all right. Thanks, Mark and Jimmy. We'll see how it goes.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
We'll see what happens tomorrow.
Hey, Tom, I don't want to bet against the boss, but I think maybe I'm going to put my money on Hirschman.
Okay. You do what you want.
You know, Tom, this fly-in could be huge. We're expecting, I don't know, what is this, like 10,000 people maybe?
Could be.
And several hundred airplanes.
Right.
It's going to be spectacular. But, you know, it's kind of a far cry from our first Frederick fly-ins.
Oh, it is. It really is.
You know, back in 1991, then brand new President Phil Boyer, he was working in the office over the weekend. He looked out his window and he saw some people out on the ramp, and they'd flown in and they'd walked up to the building and they were sort of peering in.
Right, I remember.
And he thought, well, why don't I have a day, one day a year when everybody can fly in, the building will be open, and everybody can see what's going on with AOPA, and we can meet them. And that was how you'll remember how the first modern fly-ins to AOPA headquarters was born. And we had some huge flyings. Like that first year, it was 500 people. 150 aircraft. And then it got to the point where we had to bring in a portable tower to handle all of the traffic.
Yeah, and I remember when we had 500 people and a handful of airplanes, we all thought we were super busy and that it was really a big thing. And now here we are with, maybe 10,000 people. But, that's just how these regional fly-ins started as well. Our expectation was we're just going to go out around the country and do these little fly-ins. And if we got 500 people and maybe 100 airplanes, it would be a good day. And here we are with hundreds of airplanes and thousands of people. So they do grow and people have really liked them.
But it's such a great opportunity to meet the members and to spread general aviation all across the country.
Right, and to go to the members' neighborhood, so to speak.
Absolutely.
And so we landed a fly-in or even just taxiing to an FBO. Have you ever been a bit bewildered by what the guy with the wands is trying to tell you? I know I have been. Most of us have been there. So the AOPA Air Safety Institute has just produced a video to make sense of all those gestures.
There are more than a dozen marshalling signals, and communication between the marshaller and the pilot can sometimes get confusing. To make things more confusing, some airports may use slightly different variations on the same signals. Whatever the variation in signals may be, you will either see the marshaller use wands or paddles, or just their arms and hands for directing. Be flexible, and use your pilot senses to help you understand their directions.
You can find the video on our website. It's under Training and Safety, Air Safety Institute. You can also find it on the Air Safety Institute's YouTube channel. As we mentioned earlier, this is AOPA's 80th anniversary. We were formed back in 1939 because of a group of Philadelphia businessmen, lawyers, and aviators, and they saw the clouds forming. And they were concerned that general aviation might be shut down as part of the war effort. And this is the 75th anniversary of the beginning of the end of that war. We're going to be commemorating D-Day and the Normandy invasion at the fly-in this weekend with a flyover of C-47s and DC-3s from the D-Day squadron and a paratrooper drop by the Liberty jump team. And how many of you remember this guy?
And of course you read about the XB-70 made its maiden flight and it was successful. They proved that $1.5 billion could fly. It can fly from Los Angeles to New York in an hour and a half. To see the whole movie, you have to go on to London.
Well, that's Bob Hope, of course, beloved by the troops in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam for his shows, giving them a break from the fighting. And this week, we learned that the Bob Hope Legacy will be the presenting sponsor of the bookend events to honor the anniversary of the end of World War II. The $1 million grant will help support many events, including the Arsenal of Democracy flyover in Washington, D.C., May 8th of next year, celebrating the end of the war in Europe. AOPA is supporting the flyover, and Vice President of Airports Mike Ginter is on the Executive Planning Committee.
You know, and speaking of World War II warbirds, one of the most popular videos we've ever done was something that we called Tall Tale. It was a story about a huge collection of historic aircraft gathering dust in a Texas barn that had just gone up for sale. Now, that collection was assembled by a pretty legendary guy, Connie Edwards. Sadly, Connie died last Friday. He was 85. Now, here's the story I did when Tom and I visited his ranch about 5 years ago. Rumors flew about for years about a cache of iconic warbirds gathering dust in some forgotten hangar. Well, the hangars, that's plural, are in West Texas next to a 5,000-foot runway on Connie Edwards Ranch. And the Messerschmitts and Spitfire and Mustang were for sale at a price.
I'm not in the airplane business. I mean, if someone comes in with what I want for them, well, I'll sell every one of them. But I'm not going to sit here and haggle with a bunch of tire kickers.
Connie doesn't care much for pretension.
I got in the stone business because his character ticked me off big time. And he was a Harvard man. And he talked like Teddy Kennedy. I said, I'll go in the stone business and bust your ass. He said, young man, you don't know how wealthy I am. No one can bust my ass. I said, I don't know how wealthy you are, but you're going to be a hell of a lot less wealthy if you start war with me.
And he's about as politically incorrect as you can get.
Oh, you can spend a day just reading my damn wall of shame. Hillary's Gay Affairs, by golly.
Connie has made a fortune in oil and water and Texas stone, but that's not how he got his airplanes.
I signed up for 6 weeks in Spain, and I ended up 11 and a half months later, still getting shot down as a chief stunt pilot.
Connie may be best known for choreographing and flying many of the aerial scenes in the 1969 movie Battle of Britain.
I said, I fought that war a lot longer than the original cast.
And when it came time to pay him, the movie company wanted to give him an IOU. Not this Texas boy.
Well, we just don't have the money. I said, I'll tell you, because I'd been in enough movies before. They've got to junk everything for a movie. I mean, everything's got to be scrapped, or they got to capitalize on anything they keep. So I said, I'll just take this line of 109. Well, they wasn't worth a heck of a lot then at the end of the movie, in 1968. So I packed them up and sent them back, and I traded 2 of them to another little crook over there for the Spitfire.
He picked up a bunch of P-51s in Latin America and more aircraft and parts.
You don't need a P-51 carburetor, do you? There's probably 35 of them, blowers, every dang thing. And all of these engines, they came from the Baltimore overhaul depot. Back in the 60s, I bought 2 tractor trailer loads full of them and paid them $250 a piece.
He traded the P-51s for other aircraft.
And I traded one of the damn P-51s for it. Now, this was back in the 90s.
You traded a Mustang for this?
I sure did.
And while it may be heresy to many, Connie isn't real fond of the Mustang.
This is the last, and when some suckers got it, I don't care if I ever see another one of these son of guns. The 51 is not my favorite plane. I've got about 1,200 hours of son of guns.
The Messerschmitt 109 is the fighter for him.
It's my favorite, and I've flown never flew a Jap plane, but I've flown all the fighters. There's no way that a Spitfire or a P-51 could shoot down a Messerschmitt if you had the equal pilots.
But at the end of the year, all of these fighters will be gone. 3 different buyers want to restore them to full flying condition, and that will leave Connie with his Super Cub.
Super Cub, it's the pilot trainer. I mean, if a person can fly a Super Cub, he doesn't have any trouble going into a T6 as far as I'm concerned,
Oh, and he got his price for the fighters. And then some. Dave Hirschman and Mark Baker were with us on that trip, too. And Dave, you had a lot of experience with Connie. I mean, he was a character.
Yeah, a real original. And I think you probably had the same feeling that I did when you first looked inside the hangar at Big Spring, where it was like the opening scene to Jurassic Park, where you think, I can't believe I'm seeing what I'm seeing. 2 PBYs, an albatross, a Grumman goose, a mallard, P-51s, all
those engines.
A room full of V-12 engines. It's just beyond the pale. And I remember just standing there and feeling like the ground was shaking beneath me because it just did not seem real. It seemed like I'd stepped into some parallel universe.
And Connie was about as opposite of politically correct as it was possible to be.
Yeah, he was an irascible, plain spoken. You always knew where you stood with Connie, and and underneath this incredibly gruff exterior, I think there was a very kind person, and he was charismatic, and he was funny, and he was insightful about flying, and he was such an authority on flying because he had so much personal experience flying such a variety of historical airplanes. And just one of the idiosyncratic things about his collection, he would not call it a collection. He would say he's not a collector. And the only thing these objects had in common was that he had a personal interest in them at some time. And he had quite eclectic tastes and interests because, the vehicles in his hangars, I mean, they were Cushman scooters and Hondas and Cadillacs, and there's rare automobiles, and that place was unbelievable in the true sense of when you're there you can't believe that what you're seeing. And the guy lived in a castle of his own design, and it was made from this Texas stone which he had a quarry and carved, and it was covered with sculptures that he built by hand. I mean, he was just a rare individual, and as you said, he will be missed.
He will be missed.
And when we come back, flying horses, literally, GA and the Kentucky Derby.
And the airport in the sky reopens with a little help from the Marines. You're watching AOPA Live this week. We'll be right back.
Thank you for being here to support Angel Flight West and the 5th Annual Endeavor Awards.
The real heroes in this equation are the Angel Flight passengers.
Wow. See, I told you you'd love this.
Hey, welcome back. And another anniversary to celebrate this month, the first Atlantic crossing by an aircraft. And it's probably not the one you're thinking of. On May 8th, 1919, 3 U.S. Navy Curtiss seaplanes departed the Naval Air Station at Rockaway Beach, New York. They were headed for the United Kingdom. 23 days later, one of them, NC-4, made it. That's 23 days, 6 stops, and a trail of 53 station ships across the Atlantic for navigation points. Now, Lindbergh did it solo, nonstop 8 years later. NC-4 is on display at the National Naval Aviation Museum in Pensacola.
And speaking of history, the historic airport in the sky has reopened. It only took the Marines to do it. Seriously, the runway at the famous Catalina Island Airport had gotten pretty bad with potholes and loose fragments. So bad that the California Aeronautics Division told the airport owner it would have to close unless they fixed it. So the Catalina Island Conservancy got with the 1st Marine Expeditionary Force to set up a training exercise, build an expeditionary runway. Last January, the Marines and the Seabees assaulted the island, so to speak, replaced the asphalt with concrete, and the official airport opening was last Friday. The first airplane to land, a DC-3, owned by the Wrigley family that used to fly out of Catalina. The family built the airport way back in 1941. Maybe they could use the Marines in Kansas. Check out these videos from Hutchinson Regional Airport in Kansas. According to the airport's Facebook page, lightning hit the main apron. You can see the big hole it left in the pavement. The airport gets hit about twice a year on average, the Post says. Certainly glad nobody was hurt on that one.
Those were some holes, Tom. Well, you probably want to steer clear of such convection. Yes, you really do want to steer clear of such convection, and something that can help you do it is the in-cockpit weather you can get from ADS-B in. Now remember, you are going to have ADS-B out next year. if you want to fly in the so-called rural airspace that's everywhere you need a transponder. Now remember, you can get a rebate from the feds for installing ADS-B out, but there are now fewer than 1,000 rebate reservations available from the FAA, and they're all likely to be gone in less than 2 weeks, so you better claim it now. The info is on our website. Well, speaking of forecasting the aviation business is tough, and the FAA sometimes misses the mark. Like this year, the latest aerospace forecast is out, and the feds previously underestimated the growth of drones and Part 107 registrations. The forecast for piston general aviation is in a slow decline. The feds expect slow growth in the number of turbine-powered aircraft, however. You can read more on our website.
The most dramatic running of the Kentucky Derby, now history. Even if you don't follow horse racing, you've probably heard about the disqualified horse in the second-place long shot. If you bet on that horse, you'd have a pile of cash by now. And it takes some cash to transfer these horses to races all across the United States and internationally because, as we discovered, horses fly. The Texan company transports horses in a Boeing 727 called, cleverly, Air Horse One, outfitted specifically for them. The empty interior is loaded with each horse individually and a stall then constructed for every horse. The horses are backed into the stall so all face forward. Handlers sit in jump-style seats in the back of the airplane and keep the horses supplied with hay all through the trip, just like flight attendants. Although some may need a little sedation to calm them down, and I mean the horses, not the pilots, because most horses just munch their way quietly through the flight. The cool air at the flight levels and the darkened interior lulls them to sleep, and again, I hope that's not the pilots. Pilots on these flights say the horses are pretty quiet passengers, although when one acts up, the others often join in. In-flight turbulence ensues for the crews at that point. How much cash to fly a horse to, say, California from Kentucky? About $4,500, and not bad compared to a first-class ticket. Learn more about how general aviation contributes to the horse racing industry in the July issue of AOPA Pilot magazine.
Air Horse One. Okay. Well, I wonder if those horses would want a memento of their flight. Well, we know that people often do, especially if it's their first flight in a GA aircraft. Now, our friends at the Monmouth Area Flying Club have put together this video to show you how you can make that first flight even more memorable for your passenger.
Hi, my name is Charles Burke, and I'm a pilot. Holding a pilot's license and sharing a flight with someone who has never flown in a small aircraft creates the perfect opportunity to encourage the guest to become a pilot. This experience can be further enhanced by creating a first-time flight album. A small plane, I have a feeling it's going to be a very unique experience. The albums that are created consist of all the materials and information that are normally amassed prior to a flight. Here's the one created for this flight. The cover contains basic data such as the aircraft, names, dates, etc. Next is a table of contents, which lists all of the documents that are included. The pages are then printed and assembled with an inexpensive binder to really make it look special. The experience begins by first reviewing the album with the guest. Each page is examined along with how it fits into the planned flight. This is also a great opportunity to address questions and concerns that they may have.
Okay, well, are you ready to go flying?
Absolutely.
Once this step is finished, we walk out to the aircraft and begin the pre-flight checklist. They are encouraged to use their copy and perform all of the steps along with me.
Ignition off.
Ignition's off.
After the pre-flight is completed, we board the aircraft and they are asked to walk through the startup process. The same steps are repeated after the taxi to the runway run-up area is done. Then it is up, and away. As we fly, I try to explain what is going on and suggest that they reference the various pages in their album. This helps to tie everything together and make the album's contents much more understandable. When the flight is over, it is time for one last very important step, enjoying the thrill that the guest has experienced. Because they have participated in what the pilot does, they will probably treasure their album for the rest of their life. Along the way, you may have seen a spark emerge. That is the spark that may enkindle an interest in going on and becoming a pilot on their own. Thank you.
And that booklet really is a nice memento. But I think we sort of have to remind people that when you're taking somebody up for the first flight, you really have to gauge their interest level and you know what's going to be important to them.
Right. Yeah, of course. Some people are going to want to just jump in the airplane and go, and that's okay. Some people like to understand what's happening with the airplane, but the best thing is to just show them what you can do with a general aviation airplane and how cool it is to get this experience of flying and controlling an airplane. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, absolutely, and then take pictures, and maybe even give them a first flight certificate. I believe you can get that on our website.
You can get that on our website. Absolutely can. Well, that's it from Out on the Flight Line here at Frederick. If you're watching us on YouTube, hey, please subscribe and give us the old thumbs up as well.
Indeed. And send us your comments too. We love hearing from you. Our email address is aopalive@aopa.org. And we hope to see you here at the Fly-In this weekend and back here next Thursday for the next edition of AOPA Live This Week.